And I had an epiphany at that moment because she's the same age as my daughter. Oh man, these doctors are complicit in all this. That they don't want you better because if you're better, you're not going to the doctor. And they have to see you several times a year so they can give you your prescription or whatever. Oh, hey, we got to have you come in so we can run your blood work, or we got to do whatever for this, you know. If you're not coming in for all that because you don't need to have it done, they're not making any money off of you. So I'm convinced they know. And the doctor that comes in,
Fred, how did you find Carnivore?
delicious. I found it through YouTube like everybody else. You know, I kind of stumbled upon it and I thought, well, meat is not going to be any worse for you than vegetables. And it's way more tasty. So I kind of jumped all over that and it's been quite a ride. I don't get tired of eating meat and eggs and bacon. Although I've eaten so much bacon, I think the pork producers are going to give me some type of sponsorship, and I can barely keep my socks up because of the bacon grease, but it's been pretty awesome.
Um, so what was it that made you get started, and how long have you been doing it?
March 2nd, I started. Yeah, that's when I weighed myself for the first time, and I weighed 118.27 kilograms, which is 260.2 in American and 18.58 for you folks in the UK stone. And this morning I'm 196.2, so I'm down 64 pounds or 14.1 stone, you know.
Oh,
The worst part is I had to buy some clothes that fit because my pants wanted to fall down, which
that's
is
always a nice problem to have, though, right?
yeah, when you're prior to losing weight, you know, you could go outside with my stomach and my shoes wouldn't get wet in the rain, but now you can look down and you can see your shoes. You can see all the way straight down, you know.
Yeah, that's the joke used to be like, the overweight guy had small feet because nothing grows in the shade, it's
Oh man. Yeah, my shoes get wet now, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
So, did you notice any other changes going
Oh God.
the weight loss?
I had these I used to ride so much when I lived in California, and I had these sores that were on my hand, and I thought, "Oh man, I maybe skin cancer or something." And this they all healed up. I don't have any more of that. Um, I used to have a real my scalp used to be super oily, and I think that contributed to my hair going south for the winter and permanent. And that oily scalp has kind of gone away. If I didn't, it was almost like a bulldog. You know, you got to wipe its face. Where I'd wipe my head, and then a couple hours later, you could see like oil streaming down your scalp. It's like holy smokes! And now I realize it's probably all that seed oil and vegetable oil and everything else just kind of coming out of your body. It was crazy. But I've had some skin tags and stuff shrinking. Just some other things. I had like a wart that was here, fell off.
That's interesting that happened to you too. Like my hands used to be covered in warts, like had them at the end of my fingers and stuff, just all gone.
It's crazy. And I got a couple on my leg that's shrinking. I have some like lipomas that are shrinking. My wife's going, oh, they're smaller, you know. And my reading glasses, my other pair the less strong. I lost the nose piece, but I can sit at my computer at work, and I went to a less strong prescription. These were the strongest ones. And now I can sit at my desk at work, and until the end of the day, when the eye strain from looking at the monitor all day, then I'll have to put my less strong readers on. But in the morning when I get up fresh, I mean, I can see the print and everything on the monitor. It's pretty crazy. And
Nice.
if I only ate like this when I was in school, in high school, I wouldn't have needed glasses. It's crazy. But yeah, I can see way better. I I got to go to the eye doctor again in May, and they'll do that pressure. I'm waiting to see how that goes because I haven't been taking any of those drops. I ran out and I didn't call the doctor, and I haven't noticed anything funny, with my vision. Other than it got better. My blood pressure started going down since this whole thing because it was like hitting the ding dong bell at the circus or at the fair, and it hitting the top. Now it's come down quite a bit, 50 points. Yeah, it's been a lot better, and my resting heart rate's come down. And when I got my blood work done, my A1C is 5.3, and I didn't get it taken when I first started doing the diet, and I wouldn't even have went to the doctor, but my employer, they make you go to the doctor once a year and get your blood work done. That way, if you don't get the stuff done, they're going to jack your rates $500 a year. So, well, I better go get that done. And my A1C came down to 5.3. My triglycerides last year were almost 300. They were 289, and this time when I went, they were 97.
A change. That's awesome.
He looked at me kind of funny, and when I first walked in the room, I was two. Let's see, I weighed 203 when I went to the doctor. That was back in July. And last year, because I'm over 50, I got my PSAs taken and they were 2.3. And this year they had gotten better. They were 2.26. And last year, my HDL was 30, which is really not good. This year it was 48. And my LDL is 195, but that's no biggie. The big one for me is even when I was in my best condition and eating so-called the best, I couldn't get it to go over 40. And 40 is like the minimum you want it to be. So I wish I would have got it taken in March. I wish I would have did these. And I even had my testosterone tested and it was 385. So I bet it was a lot less if I would have went in March. But I had a lot of improvement. So right now my triglycerides to HDL is right around 2, which is, the ratio is good. And my resting glucose was 89. It's pretty good. I don't know.
You've been on before, and thank you for coming back on. What in the meantime, what's happened? Has there been any developments? Anything with doctors or any big changes?
No, just some things that healed up that I thought I was going to have to go get checked. It's like, man, I don't want to have skin cancer, but then I didn't want to go to the doctor. But that stuff went away. And I showed the doctor when I went and, to get my blood work done. And I says, yeah, I had these things on my hand. They all healed up since I cut out carbs. And he kind of leaned over and Well, I'll be interested to see how your blood work is. Because I didn't tell him I was on carnivore. I just says I cut out all the carbs. You know, I don't need to tell everybody, hey, I'm a carnivore. My wife tells everybody, yeah, we're eating carnivore. It's like, good grief. Yeah, have you seen Dr. Eric Westman?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll say, oh, what school did you go to? Oh, yeah, just wait a few seconds. I went to Harvard, or I went to Duke.
Yeah, same thing happens here in Japan, you know, if there's someone that went to Tokyo University, you know, they're like vegans. They'll tell you within 30 seconds of meeting you, you know, I went to Tokyo University. Yeah, thanks for that. That's very helpful.
Oh, reminds me of that song, My Woman from Tokyo.
Yeah, so what was your doctor's reaction to the LDL? Was he concerned?
Well, his right after I got the blood tests and stuff back, because you get it on your app from the doctor, teledoc stuff, and his nurse, or their whoever that lady is in the office, she called up and she says, we're just a little concerned about your cholesterol. We'd like to get you some cholesterol medications. And I says, nah, you can keep it, just like the blood pressure pills. Yeah, I'm not interested in none of that. It'll help you live 15% longer. Well, 15% longer, heck, I'm over 60 now. How much am I going to live? A few extra days. I think it was Ken Berry said on the average, you get another 4 days out of life on statins. I want to be able to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is, they tell you 15%, but that 15% is relative as well. That's not absolute. So it's not like, you know, when you hear 15%, you go, well, that sounds like a good amount until you realize it's 15% of 1%, you know?
Yeah. Well, if
Yeah.
if you live an extra 10 days because you're doing better, and 15% of that ends up being like 15 hours, I want to have my, you know, because in the grand scheme of things, oh gosh, what's tied to statins is, and along with diabetes, is all these other issues, where you get dementia and Alzheimer's. If I'm going to keel over, I want to have my faculties all the way up until the end. I don't want to be kind of delirious and drooling and looking at the walls off into space. Well, Grandpa was such a good guy. Too bad he can't remember us. I don't want any of that BS.
That's right. I mean, that's it's a scary thought, right? Because, you know, thinking that you could get to that point and potentially live for years and not know what's going on, or even worse, I mean, because unless we experience it, we don't really know. My fear is that, you know, you kind of do know what's going on, but you're locked behind this almost this wall of not being able to communicate what you want, you know?
You're just kind of there, like in a prison in your own mind.
Right, right. And yeah, it's a horrible, horrible thought. Um, you mentioned your wife's doing this along with you?
Yeah, she's not as strict as myself. She'll, oh gosh, she gets cucumbers and some other stuff. But her um, not her HDL, I don't know what that was, but she went to the doctor because she had pre-diabetes, and in the summer she stopped taking her statins and all that other stuff. She It's like 2 weeks ago. She went to the doctor and she had her blood work done. She comes running up the stairs and she said, my A1C is 5.0. And last year it was 6. And she was on metformin. That's what it was. She was taking metformin for all that. And her brother just lost his leg to diabetes. And I sent him videos. I sent him some of your videos, and then he claims he couldn't um, for whatever reason, couldn't pull him up on his phone, but I think he's just full of hot air. But her mom died of diabetes complications, and because of all the medication, she was getting dementia at the end. And her little brother passed away from complications of diabetes, and he was on. Well, her mom and her brother had to have dialysis. I don't know how many times a week, you know. And then her older brother, the only one she's got left, he kind of waited for whatever reason, and he had this really nasty thing on his leg, and it got infected, and they had to cut it off. And I sent him these videos. Hey, you know, you got to quit eating carbs because that nonsense of the, you know what, we're going to give you this medication, but you need to take carbs. I'm not going to take that just so I can take this, you know. I don't want to take this so I can have cookies or pizza or whatever because I don't want my digits getting chopped off. And one thing I heard, and I can't remember who it was. There was I think he's in Tasmania, that physician.
Oh, Gary Fetke.
Yeah, he was saying that once you go to where they start chopping stuff off, you only last like another year or two, you know. Usually once they start, that's when people go downhill and die. My brother-in-law is only 61 years old, and they went to his knee, and then they just went in again a week ago and went above the knee, cutting that off. And I told my wife, I says, look, I go, if he doesn't like do something now, because I don't know how much kidney function he has, but according to some of these physicians I've been listening to, if you do certain things now, you can start to regain your kidney function. And it's hard to get people to listen, you know. My wife's told her brother, you need to get on a carnivore diet. And he goes, well, I eat meat. Yeah, but what else do you eat? You know, you got to cut that nonsense out before you lose anything else. You're going to turn up to be a bobber in the water, not swimming.
Yeah, it's so hard though because everyone from or 99% of the medical profession is telling everyone the opposite of what they should be, right?
Oh
So
God.
then when you or I go out there and say, just stop eating the carbs and everything will correct itself, we sound like the crazy people standing in the middle of the park yelling at the wall or something, you know?
Yeah. My wife and I did a diabetes ride, one of those drum up money for diabetes like 10 years ago, you know, and they got all their carbs at all the rest stops. And they don't say one thing about how to fix your diabetes. It's just they're drumming up money for the American Diabetes Association. And who knows what they're doing with that money, you know, probably having parties.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they're never gonna find they're never gonna find the cure for diabetes because that puts a whole lot of people out of a job right there, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. If we
You know,
fix it,
it's
well, we're going to be broke.
yeah. If they suddenly said, "Oh, hey guys, we've realized what the problem is. Stop eating the carbs." You know those recipes that we've got on our website that say, you know, chocolate chip cookies and this kind of thing. Just stop that stuff and your diabetes will go away. There's no more diabetes association after that, you know. It's
Yeah, pretty much. It's really sad. And you know what? I've been watching Kent Carnivore, that young guy, and you had a young lady on the phone, and the Kent Carnivore guy, he's like my son's age. And then you had a young lady on the other day. Um, she had to have her large intestine out, you know,
yeah.
And I had an epiphany at that moment because she's the same age as my daughter. Oh man, these doctors are complicit in all this. That they don't want you better because if you're better, you're not going to the doctor. And they have to see you several times a year so they can give you your prescription or whatever. Oh, hey, we got to have you come in so we can run your blood work, or we got to do whatever for this. If you're not coming in for all that because you don't need to have it done, they're not making any money off of you. So I'm convinced they know. And the doctor that comes in and gives you your colostomy or your ileostomy or whatever it is, and they go in there and they're cutting out the bad part of your intestines. If those things are plugged up and they're looking in there, they know that's not me. But what is this? Wood chips? That's just a bunch of BS. They have to know.
Yeah, and you hear you mentioned complicit, and I agree with you. At, at the start, at the outset of this, I would have said, okay, well, some people just don't know because they have the wool pulled over their eyes, by big pharma and whatever, and they're only fed certain information, and so they're I don't know, they're unknowingly complicit in this, right? But now I feel like that's giving them too much credit because no other industry would you get away with being like totally incurious and unable to critically think about things. It's only in the medical profession that this is acceptable because it makes so much money for everybody.
You ever watch Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Okay, he had this pharmaceutical guy on his program twice, and it's on episode number 2079 and another one on 1873 episode of Joe Rogan. One of the episodes, the guy's talking about, uh, oh gosh, the pain medications and stuff they got people hooked on in the 70s and 80s, and then some of this other newer medication. He talks about the pharmaceutical companies in cahoots with the insurance companies because the insurance companies they get kickbacks from the pharmaceutical companies, and they might have some drugs um, that may be more helpful for certain things without as many side effects. But then the pharmaceutical companies are pushing these other newer drugs, but the side effects are more. And they'll lower the price on these drugs. Well, the drugs that are more helpful, they're not making any money on. So the ones they're trying to pump out that are more expensive, they push those and then they give kickbacks to the insurance companies. And this guy on Joe Rogan, he tells about all that stuff. So it would be, if you have time, it would be a worthwhile watch. It's amazing.
Yeah. Um, it's crazy, right? Because you think like normal logic would make you feel like, well, the health insurance companies, they're a business. They don't want to be spending money if they don't have to, right? So they're going to be wanting their customers to be taking the medication that makes them most well, most quickly, and keeps them not sick. But because of these kickbacks, actually, this is an incentive to keep their customers sick, right?
Yeah. And instead of, say, you need something done on your knee or your back, instead of paying to get that fixed, they keep sending you to get all these other things done. We're going to send you to rehab or some exercise physiologist person to try to get you all well. And then after they spend all this money, they want to just keep giving you prescriptions instead of actually getting the item fixed because they don't make any money by getting it fixed, but they get the kickbacks from the pharmacy companies. It's what a scam. And you know, every one of these politicians are in on the same thing too, because if they don't if they don't put restrictions on this stuff, you know, it's like this getting money. Because how do these politicians go into office making, you know, whatever they make, $175,000 a year, come out and they're multi-millionaires? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, something really fishy is going on, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. Like
Mm.
getting slapped in the face with mackerel, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Um, it's criminal, you know. It's good, and it's good that more people are speaking up about this now, like people like Kelly Means and people like that that have, you know, seen what it's like in the food industry and the pharmaceutical industries. But it's just uh, I don't know how it gets dismantled easily.
When you have that many billions of dollars going into everything, it would take quite a reset where you could get that straightened out. And I don't know if they'll ever get it straightened out. Not when you have that kind of money, you know. If you got these drug kingpins in Mexico that'll kill you for $1,000, they're not making the same kind of money some of these pharmaceutical companies are making. So, you know, it's just exponentially bigger to where these people are going to do what they can to keep you suppressed.
Yeah, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the next few years go, and if anything does change, because I feel like there is some momentum behind carnivore, and even at least keto. You know, like people are moving more this way because they understand that what they're doing now is not healthy, right?
You know what? I uh, I see how many people you speak with, and I'm really amazed how many people from Canada and the UK and other European countries. And then I seen a lady, I'm going to call her a young lady because she's younger than me, a lady from Japan that was on this morning. And you have a lot of people from Australia, New Zealand on here too. And that's huge. Not as many people from the United States. I don't know what the difference is, but God, and I watch these YouTube things in yours, and I see a lot of commercials for was it Wegovy and Giardians and all these things. I'm like, man, they're really pumping that stuff out, you know?
And so that's one of the I think one of the massive problems just with the human just with humans in general is we whether it's our nature or whether we've been conditioned this way through marketing, we want to switch for everything. You know, we don't want to put effort into stuff. We just want to switch something on. So with all these things like Wegovy and stuff, you know, it's just it's too easy for people to go, "Yeah, I could diet, I could change my lifestyle, but there's this drug I can just take this and that's my switch."
It's expensive. It's like 300, two or $300 a month for that to go get your shots. I said, holy smokes, for two or $300, I can get my carne groceries for a couple weeks. And you're not going to lose your muscle mass. Dr. Eric Westman was talking about this medicine the other day, the Wegovy, the GLP-1, And he said, yeah, you're going to lose a lot of weight, but mostly it's going to be muscle mass. And as soon as you stop taking the drugs, the weight's going to come back even faster. I said, whoa, I don't need to spend that kind of money for that. I'll just get me something to eat. And I wanted to tell you, I've been on a really high fiber diet lately. Yeah, the only time I don't get high fiber is when I'm having a burger and it's minced meat, you know. But tri-tip, inside skirt steak. Have you seen that? You can really see the grain in the meat. It, it's high fiber, and it's by proxy. I'm vegetarian by proxy. When the cattle eat all the grass around my neighborhood, I go out there and I'm like, man, I love you, future steaks.
Yeah. Living a vegetarian lifestyle vicariously through the animals you're eating.
Moo. Yeah.
Um, so like on that point, when you first went into carnivore, did you notice any did you have problems in the bathroom? Did you have any of the kind of the issues people talk about related to keto flu?
Not in the beginning, but we're doing some of Bella's uh, recipes, and I made this. Oh God, what was it? It was real heavy cream and cheese. It's a sauce for your steak or whatever. And I made some one night, and on the carton from it's we get it at Costco, that gold medal, whatever, and it says use within 7 days, and 7 days on a half gallon of heavy cream is really tough for two people because we don't use that much. And I think it went a little long in the tooth, and it doesn't get real funky smelling like milk. But I had that, and I had an issue for a couple days. And I was eating at the time that I spoke to you last. I would eat in the morning and then eat dinner. And because I was having really bad leg cramps, I would wake up. Sometimes I'd jump out of bed and I'm standing on the floor trying to get my feet to straighten out. Well, Dr. Eric Westman said have some broth. The sodium in the broth will help, but it didn't. So I think between the broth on an empty stomach and the long in the tooth heavy cream caused me some issues for a couple days, but not in the beginning. Um, I don't think I got anything weird in the beginning, and I didn't ease into it neither. I just ripped a band-aid off that scab and jumped in wholeheartedly. Yeah, mainly because I was so sick of being sick. Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I find that's the point where people will most easily take up carnivore is once you get to the point where there's no more options, like I'm sick, I've tried everything, I may as well give carnivore a try, which is where I was as well.
Yeah, you go from being, well, I'm so I'm so out of breath and just tired of feeling like trash that if I don't wake up, well, I guess it's my time. You just I would ride my trainer and I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't gaining anything. I mean, it's like the old adage, you can't outrun a bad diet. I just wasn't losing any weight. It just gaining weight, and I didn't need to gain weight. I needed to lose weight because 260 on me, I didn't look like a young Arnold Schwarzenegger ready for the bodybuilding competition. I looked like, dude, your shoes aren't getting wet and it's raining.
Yeah. So at this stage for you, this is it for life, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, once in a while when we go into town, like if we have to do something on a Saturday, there's a place we go get breakfast. And I've gone breakfast because I make breakfast every day. This place has good prices on their breakfast, and I'll get they got a scrambled eggs, ham, and cheese, and comes with hash browns, and I do eat the hash browns. I love hash browns, but that's the only time I get that. And then it comes with these two little pancakes like that big. I'll have those and wash them down with my coffee, and then I won't eat anything the rest of the day until dinner. And that's maybe once a month, and we've done that 3 times. There was one Mexican restaurant that we really like, and went to that one time, and I thought, man, that tastes like chemicals. I don't know what in the hell's in the food, but yeah, I just stick to what I have here. We haven't thrown anything out. You never know what happens with me. Something ever happens, I can get my can of beans out, but haven't had any of that stuff. I had one box of cereal that I bought back in February, and I tried to have a bowl of that like 2 weeks ago, and I thought, you know what, this doesn't even taste that great. And I threw the rest of that. There was not very much in the box, and I threw that thing out. But yeah, every day. And my wife went to California to visit our son this weekend, so I bought a boneless leg of lamb from Costco. You like lamb?
I love lamb. Yeah.
Oh man, I took that boneless leg of lamb and I sliced it up about that thick. I seasoned it up. I still use seasonings because I got some really good ones for barbecue. And I put that thing on my hot pellet grill. Oh, medium rare to rare. And me and the dogs have been eating that on this past weekend. You know what's weird is I've been feeding my dogs eggs and bacon, and they become real friendly with me because I give them steak and burger bites when I have that stuff. My one dog was getting cataracts and his eyes are clearing up. That's crazy. They were opaque, and I'm thinking, man, my poor dog's getting blind, you know. And a week or two ago, I'm looking and I asked my wife, I says, doesn't his eyes look different? And they look more clear, not as opaque, you know, like an old fart. And he's old. I don't know how old, maybe 9 or 10 years, but his eyes are clearing up and he's goofy acting like a puppy.
That's awesome. So he's got more energy.
Oh gosh, yeah, a lot more. Him and my other dog, they go crazy. When I give them breakfast in the morning, it's bacon and eggs, just like we're having. And I had some lunch about 1 o'clock. I feed them. So I had some inside skirt steak that I barbecued up a few days ago. And then, of course, those little beggars are over by me and I'm trying to eat. They have some. And then we just carry on and I'll heat up some more at dinner time. But I went back to 3 days of eating it 3 times a day. And my weight stayed 196.2 for the past week. Hasn't really fluctuated. I don't get hunger pains. I just when I'm at work and I get off for lunch, I just come downstairs, and where I'm at now it's getting cold and it's been snowy and not very good weather. I just come downstairs and I'll fix my lunch, but it's a burger. I'll make a big pile of hamburgers and whatever else, and then I'll just have that, or I'll have a piece of steak or whatever, and that'll be my lunch. And then maybe 7, 8 o'clock at night if I got to cook something. I try to get all my cooking done on the weekend, but sometimes I run out and I go, oh crikey, I got to go out there and whip up some more food. And over the summer, I built a barbecue shack in my backyard because it's windy up here, and now it's windy and cold. So I go out there and I open the windows up a little bit and I get the smoke rolling in the smoker and I start cooking. And that was my summer project. And I don't know how I got my old ass up and down that ladder, but yeah, I hauled all the materials up and did it.
Would you have been able to do that before Carnivore? Or would
No,
you have been motivated to do it?
no, it would have killed me for sure because I put 3/4 inch plywood. Well, it's that OSB, interlocking OSB up on the roof. I hauled all that stuff up the ladder myself, did the whole thing, and then I got a price for have somebody come and put the metal on the roof because I matched the metal on that to my house, and they gave me some crazy price. I ordered up the stuff and I did it myself in a couple days, and I got it all wrapped up. My wife says, "I can't believe you did that." And I didn't have plans neither. I just threw that stuff up and looks like I paid somebody, but it came out good, and I just barbecue the hell out of everything out there.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's windy.
yeah, whereabouts are you?
I'm in Utah, up in the mountains above St. George. It's 20-ish degrees warmer down in St. George, and it's 20 degrees colder, which sometimes is really cold. And it hasn't been cold enough for the snow to really stick, but it's been snowing off and on and raining off and on. So it gets down minus sub-zero temperatures up here in the wintertime.
Yeah. So, what you'll be able to barbecue even then because you'll be protected?
Yeah, I got my patio, and it's about 10 or 15 feet, and I got an overhang. It's a 3 foot overhang, I think. And then I got double doors. I just open them up and I go inside and I close it. I insulated it and everything. So and the way it's sitting, it's facing east to west, but it's close enough behind my house that I don't get the east winds coming in the front. Only if it's blowing north and south do I get the winds coming through the windows because I got windows on both sides. I open the windows up, the smoke gets pulled out, and I can just keep cooking. And the heat from the equipment state keeps it warm enough that I don't have a heater. And I used one of those camper. You know how people go to the RV parks and they plug their campers in. That's what I put in there. I wired everything, and then I plug in an extension cord to the house outside, and I plug it into the side of my shed. And then I go in and flip the lights on and plug my stuff in. I got a griddle and a 2 burner Camp Chef stove, and then I have a pellet grill that runs off of electricity. So I just fire everything up and start cooking.
Nice. That's awesome. Um, so Fred, if a friend came to you and said, "Okay, I want to give this a try. I'm willing to do it in 90 days." What advice would you give them for starting with Carnivore?
I'd give them some videos to watch. There's a young guy, probably in his 30s, that works downtown, and I see him once in a while when I go in there because it's sporting good and home. It's called Cal Ranch, and he noticed some changes in me, and then he went on a carnivore diet, and he's lost some weight, and he's doing really well on it. And one of my other neighbors, I talked to him about it, and I sent him some stuff, but it's I don't know if I can do it. My wife, you know, people are afraid to take that leap. You know, they hear stories where they might run into some bathroom issues, or they worry about the leg cramps. But I fix my leg cramps with the it's called Liquid IV. It's kind of that. It's one of those electrolyte drinks like LMNT, and it's the sugar-free version. It's made with allulose, and it's it has kind of a sweet taste, but my leg cramps have gone away, and it doesn't make me want to go have an ice cream cone or anything. It's drink this or have leg cramps. And I would be inclined to tell people, you know what, if you have issues and you want to fix them up, just rip that band-aid off, baby. A couple weeks of discomfort, that stuff goes away, and then once you start feeling amazing, the rest is just history, you know.
Definitely. Once people can see what it's actually going to do for them 2, 3, 4 weeks after they've started, like, if they could see that at the very beginning, they would never question it. They would just go straight on it, right?
Yeah, we had last weekend. We had a where we live is a lot of LDS, and we have these things called trunk or treat at Halloween. So the kids, they can come here and then they just go up and down the cars in the parking lot and they trick or treat. And then we had a chili cook off, and I made chili, no bean, and one. And then people are like, "Oh man, you really lost a lot of weight." I said, "Yeah." And they had the tables all lined up, and they had little candy bars, and there was kids sitting across from me. And I just slid the candy bars over. Here you go, little kid. You can have mine. I just moved all the crap away from me. Here you go, and pass the water, and I'll have that. I'll let your parents deal with you after later, when you're all wound up.
Fred, is there a way people can reach out to you? Do you have any social media or any way of getting in contact?
I don't have any social media. I mean, you can send somebody, they can send me an email or whatever. I wouldn't mind having a YouTube channel, but I don't really have time. And it would be Keep It Simple Carnivore would be the name. There's, I think people overthink everything. And there's a young lady she has a YouTube channel, Judy Cho. Have you seen her? And she was talking about the carnivore diet the other day and people trying to be so strict because I put ketchup on my burgers. I put cheese on my burgers. I season everything up and I make chili. I don't put any veggies in it, no beans or any of that other stuff. But you got to use peppers, and I get everything all cooked up really good. But if you try to limit yourself, eh, you might put a roadblock in your way. You know, I don't mind having a hamburger that's salted up good and maybe a slice of cheese. But if I want to have some ketchup with it, I do, and that's it. And some of these little things that I've allowed myself has kept me on track and has not made me really who wants to eat. You have 2 half-pound hamburgers. You don't want to go out for an ice cream cone because you ain't got no room. But I have some ketchup on my burger. I don't have any bread with it. And it kind of helps keep me grounded and not wanting to stray off. I think that would be the biggest thing. Don't worry. And if somebody tells you a lion doesn't have this or that, that's because they don't know about it. They can't go to the store and get ketchup, or they can't go to the store and get this. Who cares? I don't have, there's a lot of folks that has autoimmune issues where they have certain items and it causes them problems. Carbs cause me problems, and if I have too many of them, so I just try to stay away. But when you look on a ketchup bottle or your seasonings, the amount of carbs in those items are so small that I kind of drown those out with bacon grease and butter.
It's important to, stay where you're going to be most comfortable doing it, right? And where you're going to be able to reduce the risk of cheating. or,
Yeah,
falling off the wagon, right?
people can't see the forest through the trees.
Mm.
If you're cutting out all these items and you feel much better, if you're having some condiments on your food and that helps keep you on the straight and narrow with everything else, I mean, no biggie. For me anyway, it hasn't been a problem.
I'll link to your email address in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming back on and sharing an update with us. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Hey, you're sure welcome. It's been a pleasure. And I got one more thing. Do you like shrimp?
Yes.
Okay. I get my bacon grease, I save that up, and I'll fry some shrimp in a big pot. And then I might put like kielbasa, slice up kielbasa in there, and some frozen chicken breasts, slice those up. So it's on, and put some different seasonings in there. And it's almost like having a Cajun dish without the rice and everything else. And then you have leftovers because I use a whole bag of that Costco shrimp. And I don't worry about if it's wild caught. You, it's a money thing, and I can't taste any difference. But shrimp, chicken, some sausages in there. Oh man, it's pretty dang good. I'm pretty sure a lion would eat it.
Nice. It sounds like the dogs are getting hungry as well.
She's bugging me because she's not getting any attention.
Ah,
Funny.
okay.
Yeah,
What kind hello? Hello?
yeah. This is one of them. The other bonehead's in sleeping.
What is it he or she?
This one's a she,
What's
and
her name?
one is the one that had the cataracts that have gone away.
Ah. Yeah, what's her name?
This is Punky, and I got Jameson's
Punky.
the other one. Yeah, this is the name she came with. Somebody abandoned her. That's the other one.
Hello.
I had two
Um,
kids. Now I got two dogs, and the two dogs are dead.
so yeah, I'll link to your email below, Fred. Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
Hey, I appreciate you and everything you do. And next time I go to the doctor, if these numbers improve more, and yeah, I'll hook up with you again. I enjoyed it.